and I'll just go through some nutrition and lifestyle tips in relation to hormonal health and hormonal balance, and hopefully just some things that you can consider and take away and start to put into your day-to-day. So I'll focus mainly on estrogen as the hormone, and excess estrogen really, and ways to help to lower the excess estrogen in the body, because it's usually that excess estrogen that's associated with a lot of the hormonal symptoms, fertility issues, irregular periods, PMS, as well as conditions like endometriosis, fibroids, and polycystic ovary syndrome as well. So I'll talk a little bit about xenoestrogens. So xenoestrogens are in products that we use in our environment and in certain foods that we use on day-to-day basis really, and they're chemically very similar in structure to estrogen. So they come in and they act in our body in a similar way to what estrogen does. So when you consider that we've got our natural estrogen in our body, and the cycle as Anna described, and then when we have other compounds coming in and acting like estrogen does, it can just perpetuate that load and then lead us to be in a sort of overloaded estrogen state, which isn't what we want, or what we want to try to minimize. So the xenoestrogens are commonly found in pesticides and insecticides. So any sort of non-organic fruit and vegetables, grains, in farming will most likely use pesticides and insecticides. So it's just being mindful and making sure that things are washed well. Obviously, just water isn't really gonna remove them totally. So acidic mediums are quite good. So adding lemon juice to water or vinegar to water, that can just help to break it down a little bit better. And then peeling where possible, because most of it will be on the skin of the fruit or vegetables. And then it's sort of eating organic where you can, because in organic farming these won't have been used, but obviously it's not realistic for everyone to eat totally organic, but just where you can, because it just will help to reduce the overall exposure and what you're sort of eating. So yeah, fruit, vegetables, grains, oats, and wheat products, just being mindful of that. Another thing to consider is skincare products. So obviously these are things that we're using on an everyday basis, makeups as well, shower gels, soaps, sun creams, and lotions and things. And they can contain certain chemicals that act as these xenoestrogens in our body. So parabens is quite a common one, and it's usually written on the label as methylparaben or butylparaben, so you'll see it as the last part of the word. Benzonophine as well is a common one, and phytalates as well, which you'll see as DP, DBP, and DHP. So to help to reduce exposure to those is looking for more natural based products. A lot of products will say on them paraben free or natural origin based, 95% natural origin, and they'll sort of really advertise it on the label there, so it's usually quite clear and noticeable. And then plastics is another common one. Common chemicals in the plastics is bisphenol A, usually called BPA, and the phytalates as well. So this can, not drastically, but a little bit come into the food or drink that's being stored in the plastic container. Heating in it is not so good, because it just causes more of a movement out of these chemicals. So some tips are sort of using stainless steel water bottles where possible, reducing plastic usage, plastic water bottles, and avoiding keep refilling shop bought plastic water bottles as well. Not keeping them in hot cars and things on a hot day. Trying to use other things instead of cling film. as well. And then using glass containers or bamboo containers rather than plastic Tupperwares, and then avoiding to heat in these as well, because you know, the ready meals or things that you buy in the plastic containers, putting them into glass or another microwavable dish can be helpful. So now I'll move on to phytoestrogens. So phytoestrogens are compounds that are more sort of beneficial for us, plant compounds. And again, they're chemically similar in structure to estrogen, and they come into the body, bind onto the receptors, and they can take the place of estrogen on the receptors there. But they have a much, much weaker role than estrogen itself. So it can therefore be quite beneficial to help with that excess estrogen load, reducing some of the effects of the estrogen in the body. And it can help to metabolize and break down, and also help to support that detoxification through the liver of the excess estrogen as well. Phytoestrogens are also really beneficial for menopausal symptoms as well, the research is showing, and that's just because of that similar structure it has to estrogen, and obviously the decline in estrogen, it can just help to replace some of that, but in a much, much milder way, so onto the estrogen receptors. So good food sources are soy products, tofu, tempeh, dami beans, things like that, legumes, chickpeas, beans, lentils, adding those into recipes, and seeds, flax seeds are particularly good, grinding them, so it can just help to be absorbed as well, the phytoestrogens from the flax seeds. Sesame seeds, and oats, rice and wheat bran as well, good sources. So Anna touched on this a little bit earlier, but stress and that impact on our hormonal levels and sort of driving that excess estrogen. So it's that long-term constant stress, you know, on an everyday kind of basis, that's going to have an impact on the hormonal levels. And it's that cortisol and adrenaline that is being pumped out in that fight or flight response. You know, in hunter-gatherer times, they'd fight the animal or they'd run and they'd burn off all those hormones. These days we're just having that response and we're not burning it off in any way, so it's then having that effect in the body. On the progesterone receptor as well, cortisol always competes with progesterone, and cortisol always wins, so pushes progesterone out. And progesterone is quite calming and also fat burning as well, so it's just also having that negative effect of pushing progesterone out, but also cortisol can then perpetuate that estrogen dominance. So it's doing things, as Anna said, you know, going for a walk, doing things you enjoy and having that downtime, mindfulness meditation and things. And there's lots and lots of apps now that can have guided meditations and things, which can be really good. This is a little bit on the liver detox of estrogen. So the liver will go through a number of phases to break estrogen down into a simple form that can then be reduced and eliminated. And DIM is a compound that really supports this detoxification process of estrogen to help to reduce estrogen. So the green leafy vegetables and all the cruciferous vegetables, which are listed there, can be really good sources of the DIM to just help that overall detoxification. And then when it is in its simplest form, then by the liver, then fibre is really important, because then the fibre comes along, binds to that estrogen, and then is eliminated through the through a bowel movement. So it's important to be having lots of fibre sources, plant-based products, vegetables, fruit, you know, grains and things, and legumes, beans, nuts and seeds as well in our diet. So and as Anna said, digestive health is really, really important when it comes to hormonal health, and they're often sort of that hand in hand people with IBS or constipation issues may then see and find themselves having sort of hormonal issues, and it is usually because of this process of that reabsorption of estrogen if it's not effectively removed. So yeah, so that's it really for what I'm going to talk about. But I'm a nutritional therapist at Berry Physio and offer one-to-one sessions with people. So if you're interested, then please do get in touch. My email address is just there, but I help support clients with hormonal issues, perimenopause, menopause conditions like endometriosis and fibroids as well, and many clients with gut issues as well, food intolerances and IBS. So and because they're so hand in hand, often they kind of present with both as well. So